Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Menachem Creditor. It's my honor to serve as scholar in residence and rabbi for UJA Federation of New York. We bring you Torah and music, blessing, and community every weekday. We've been doing so since March 18th, 2020. Today it is Friday, June 19th, 2026. That's 6 years and a whole bunch of months since we began learning Torah every single weekday morning. What a blessing it is to be part of this community with Arlene and Jonathan, Ronnie, Marilyn, Linda. Hi, my love. My wife is here. Hi, Neshama. Nice to see you. Rosa and Arlene, Carl and George, Boker Tov. Good to see all of you. Susie, Penny, thanks. It's broadcast 1573. Arlene and Patricia, Natalia, Cynthia, Ashley, Boker Tov. Nice to see you last night at Neshama's concert. Really touched that we got to be in the same place at the same time. Karen and Eileen, Cecile, Boker Tov. Good to see everybody. All right, let's take a breath. Sing a bracha. Learn some Torah. Hi, Deborah. Nice to see you. Hi, Minna. David, welcome. Ivy, hi. Good morning, everyone. It's good to see all of you. First, an additional bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol niyeh bidvaro. Today is many things, including Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth, everyone. If you're not familiar with the holiday, it is the day, June 19th, where years after the Emancipation Proclamation was issued, years after it should have already been enacted, a community in Texas was the last place in the United States to receive the word that black people were free. This is a day of celebration. It is a day of historical awareness. And given how America seems, and this is not only a Jewish concern, to not really know its own history, it behooves us to pay attention. And so I encourage you, go to a program today, find something online that'll help you learn about it. Juneteenth is a very important step in the path towards justice within our society, and only a step. Juneteenth is a happy day. It is not the last of the many steps that will be necessary to make sure that all people are truly seen as images of God and equal in the eyes of every neighbor they have. Let's jump into some Torah. Parshat Korach has given us so much to think about. One of the moments, and we've mentioned it before, but not from the specific aspect that I hope to think about out loud today, is after the rebellion that Korach leads is initiated, Moses takes a specific action. And before we talk about this, I would love to invite you, not because it's a pleasant experience, but to imagine being challenged by someone who is aggressive and not kind in the way that they stand before you. They challenge you about the very things that you care most about. Let's say you are an advocate for equality, for egalitarianism in society, and they say you're in it for yourself. Well, you know that the mission that you feel very called to pursue has nothing to do with you, but they challenge you about it. And you've gained a platform because you actually have talked about it in public and people notice. And they say you're in it for you. They challenge you and they say you're being so selfish, so self indulgent. Even though you know it's not true, isn't that an accusation that bites? It hurts. So not only is Korach wrong, he says something that hurts the very people who are trying to lead the community. The way that Moses responds is so important for us to notice. This is chapter 16, verses 3 and 4 of the book of Numbers. Here's the text, the English translation of it. They came as a group to oppose Moses and Aaron and said to them, "You have gone too far. The whole community is holy, every one of them, and God is with them. Why then do you set yourselves above God's assembly?" Which we know they didn't do. When Moses heard this, he fell face down. And it is strange and powerful to see this response from Moses. He could have done so many things. He could have responded with, "How dare you? How dare you? Do you think this is a joyful role that I take on? Do you think I wanted this job? I had escaped from one moment of deep trauma and started a new life in the desert, started a family when God called me to do this work, to go back to the very place of my pain and to demand the freedom of the family that I had never really known. I went through so much." He could have said all those things. We know his story. We've studied the story. And sometimes when we act in a way that we feel called to do on behalf of someone else, we begin channeling that story. As Rosa just wrote, and what a way of understanding Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses our teacher. Rosa writes, "I think he was tired of being so misunderstood." Of course he must have been exhausted by this. He could have yelled. What a human being Moshe Rabbeinu was, that he didn't respond to this violent accusation with screaming. He fell down. And we don't quite know exactly what that falling down means. And so I offer our own imaginations in response first. What must he have been doing? It is possible that he's a master of dramatic presence. And he knows that actually we gain much more attention from a loud crowd when we get suddenly very quiet. He might have known that. But there's a suggestion in the Hasidic tradition that goes deeper. I want to read this to you. Shneur Zalman of Liadi was the founder of what we now call Chabad Hasidism. He wrote a book called the Tanya, which to this day Chabad studies, in fact, considers it almost on equal footing with the Tanakh. He lived in Russia and he died in 1812, if you're curious. Here's what he writes about Moses and this act of falling down when Korach challenges him. It would have been fitting for Moses to answer him immediately. So why did he first fall on his face? Moses, our teacher, had a feeling that maybe they were asking him this from on high. The question was coming through them from God. And Korach was only a messenger. Thus, Moses first fell on his face for self-reflection, to see if in truth he had any arrogance. After he thoroughly checked himself and found no sense of pride, he understood that Korach was not a messenger from on high, but rather was a divider of people, and so then he answered as he did. A powerful thing to consider. Shneur Zalman of Liadi is saying that Moses though we know who Moses is, and Moses had a good sense of who he was, even Moses said, hold on a second, I'm going to check myself. And looked within with his face on the ground and said, am I doing this for myself? Is there arrogance in me? And when he realized there was not, then he responded. And in that sacred pause, where it was possible again to discern what was right in front of him because he could discern what was within him, he models what it is to respond in difficult times and difficult situations. I quote often Viktor Frankl in his Man's Search for Meaning, where he says many brilliant things, many life-saving things, many healing things. Among all of that is one quote that has changed my life the first moment I read it, and every time I see texts like this, and often when I'm in human encounters that are trying, because we're all human, and sometimes that's where we are, I hear these words. In between stimulus and response, there is a pause. What happens to me, and then what I do, there's a pause. In that pause, there is a choice. And in that choice lives our freedom. Today is a day, Juneteenth, where freedom again is to be celebrated. And if we are to be part of the great work of furthering freedom for more people, it is essential that we make sure that our freedom, internal, is something that is real, that is reflective, that we make sure that in that pause we are choosing on behalf of others right action. And if that demands that sometimes we stand in front, then that's where we have to stand. And if sometimes that means we take a step back and let someone else stand in front, that is also what that means. Freedom is not about everyone doing whatever they want. Freedom is about everyone having the right to make decisions for themselves. Moshe models a beautiful way of making decisions, of pausing, of looking within, and then making a decision. May we be blessed to follow his worthy model. Friends, let's send our hearts to the east as we get ready for Shabbos. Let's sing. Kol hod balevav pnima nefesh Yehudi homia ulfatei mizrach kadima ayin letzion tzofia od lo avda tikvateinu התקווה בת שנות 2000 להיות עם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון וירושלים להיות עם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון Virushalayim. Am Yisrael Chai. Shabbat Shalom, friends. See you on Monday.